Stories you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
Well, good Thursday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning, if you have Facebook, you can tune into the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and you can see me and our guest here this morning. I'm Colin Worthington, by the way. I'll introduce you to our guest here in just 1 second. Do want to let you know at this point we are in a flash flood warning. That's in effect for Carroll County. That's lasting till 2 o'clock this afternoon, so it's a pretty darn good chance we're going to see some heavy rains coming through this morning. And again, flash flood warning in effect until 2 o'clock. Once that expires, the flash flood watch will remain in effect until, I think, 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So a good chance we're going to see a lot of rain. And if you did sleep through it this morning, Cleveland County, a portion of Cleveland County actually had a tornado warning. I believe that was about 4:30 our time, or maybe it was 5. Yeah, it was 5:30 our time when they issued it, and it lasted until 5:30 Central Time. So it was out there for about an hour, and it was worth paying attention to this morning if you were awake to see if that could affect Carroll County, because it is just a hop, skip, and jump away from us. My guest this morning and myself, we have the unenviable task of following up yesterday's program. I don't know if you got to see it, Gil McDougal, our guest this morning. He's the Rica mayor, and yesterday our guest Sarah Claudia Tillman was our host, and she hosted her first program. Did a great job. Got a lot of viewership on Facebook and a lot of good listenership yesterday. So it was a really good show. A lot of people enjoyed it. But yes, I say the unenviable task of following up. I mean, us two schmucks. You're not a schmuck. Possibly me, or turning my audio here. Gil's in this morning to talk about primarily the census, to educate us all a little bit about the census, which is kicking in this year. Rica and all municipalities are actually encouraging everybody to participate in that. We'll try and let you know what that involves, what that includes, what your responsibilities are, and what they're not. We'll try and touch on all of that information during this morning's program. So thank you for coming in to talk about it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And why is it so important to these cities, to our local cities, that we participate in this?
Well, the census plays a huge role in how funding is allocated from the federal level to the state level and even through the counties. When you start looking at SPLOST allocations across the counties, which is what affects us mostly at the municipal level. So when we talk about the census, we're talking about a population count, so that we have an understanding of how many people actually live in our cities and counties and other jurisdictions. But what I'm really focusing on is the city of Rica, because the higher the population we have, the more accurate count that we have, the better the allocation of funding is, especially at the county level when we're talking about SPLOST issues. So we want to highlight that. This is done about every 10 years, it is done every 10 years. And so I've never been a part of the census before, but I am acutely aware of how important it is, and I wanted to come here today to see if I could maybe encourage people to take a little more active role in making sure that their households are counted.
And maybe ease some stress, too, because there's a lot of stress around people that you don't recognize coming into your property. And, there are people that just frankly don't want to share their information. They don't want to deal with that person coming in and asking the questions, and they don't want to even answer the door. I guess, in theory, it is illegal not to participate in the census. I believe there are fines that can be put out against you if you do not.
I'm going to leave that to you. That's not in my that's above my pay grade about whether there are fines. I'll say this, and I hear a lot about the door-to-door program, and I'm sure that there's a lot of that. But a lot of this will be done by mail. The vast majority of the households will receive a packet in the mail. And I believe that the packets will start going out about the second week in March. And by Census Day, National Census Day, which is April 1st, every home should have received a packet of information to fill out. And I will encourage you there are a number of ways you can get information on the census. The Rica Library will have dedicated computers that you can go down and use. They'll be there only for the census. So you can go there and fill out information regarding your household, or just to get information on the census. I would encourage people to do that. Now, each week, the city of Villa Rica puts out a newsletter, and under the mayor's corner, I have included a slated calendar for the census. So if you haven't signed up for that, I would ask you to do that, especially my Villa Rica folks. But you would just email a request to be added to that newsletter to our city clerk, Alyssa Doyle, and her email address is adoyal@villarica.org. That's adoyle@villarica.org.
Now, according to I guess a timeline you guys did put out last month, the U.S. Census Bureau started counting the population in Alaska on January the 21st. And apparently, obviously, they're not connected with the lower 48. Count officially begins in the rural Alaskan village of Toksook Bay. In March 12th through the 20th, households will begin receiving their official Census Bureau mail with detailed information on how to respond to the 2020 census online by phone or email. Are they going to be going door to door?
There will be teams going door to door. They were hiring individuals as early as last fall to be a part of those door to door teams. As I noted, I've never had one at my door, but that is part of the process. So you can expect that a number of people will receive knocks at the door, and don't be alarmed. Please don't run them off. Please take time to fill that out. It's very important. It really is important.
But are they going to come door to door if say you get your census online, do it online or by phone or email? They're still going to come door to door. Are they going to be able to tell who does those and those other communities?
Now, I don't have that kind of detail. It would make sense to me that there is some type of a list that differentiates between those who received a packet and completed it and those who have not yet. Mm-hmm. But I don't have the details on that.
How about the questions? What are the questions going to be?
The questions are basic household questions. There's a list of those actually on that newsletter. I don't have it right here in front of me, but it'll be things like about how many people live in your home, the ages of the individuals, the sex of the individuals. They're basic questions about the household composition and how many people live in the home and the makeup of the home.
But they're not going to ask you how many bathrooms you have, right?
No, I don't think they're interested in that.
That was, I think, somebody made a joke about that, but I believe somebody actually believed that was out there a couple months back. I remember seeing that. I think the president actually mentioned it, that they're going to ask for your bathrooms, but I don't think that's accurate.
Okay. Again, above my pay grade, I'm going to let y'all work on that.
And they want to know everybody. I mean, they're doing the head count, even if you're not a citizen. They need to know the amount of people. I mean,
that's right. And that's
how do you convince people who are not citizens to participate in this?
And that, again, that is something that they have processes in place for. But the law, the Constitution requires that a population count be taken. It doesn't differentiate between whether or not you are a citizen or a permanent citizen. It needs to know how many people reside inside of that jurisdiction. That's what we're looking for there. Some of the harder folks to count are going to be more transient people, more renters, homeless, but those still need to be counted because they are still part of that population.
And there's not a citizenship question on it this year. There was discussion about that the last 2 years, but that will not be on the census. Yeah, you did mention it's hard to count. It's hard to count children, people living in the rural areas, and of course the homeless. Millions of people are uncounted every time they do this. And again, emphasize how that does affect the municipalities. In what forms does that money come back to municipalities? In grants for, I think about that Main Street grant. Main Street just recently received a grant, maybe in November, and they explained it to the downtown businesses. And they were only eligible for that grant because they were under 15,000 population. But just think if they, you assume that there's going to be hundreds and maybe 1,000 people who are not counted every time. But just think if they were all counted, they would have exceeded the qualifications for that.
There are. It seems to me, I was looking at some information at the county level last week, and due to undercounts, I think we missed out on about $98 million in funding. Which is a significant amount of money. So that's another reason why we're pushing for these counts. One of the things we have to consider is that we want an accurate count, and the count of the population are those that we serve in those municipalities. if we are serving that number and we're not reporting that under our census and receiving the appropriate allocation of funding, then we're actually cheating ourselves. So that's another reason why it's important for us to make sure that we encourage everyone to participate in this census and to fully complete any forms or any requests that they ask for so that we can get an accurate count. That's what we need.
And these numbers that come up, they're going to reform our districts, our congressional district, the state senate, the House of Representatives for the state, too. They're going to reshape those districts.
It typically does. I mean, that's obviously a population allocation as well. In the city of Villa Rica, we will probably redraw the wards. We have 5 wards. Depending on how the census count comes down, we'll probably redraw those. Of course, your congressional districts will be redrawn. But it all depends on how the population has moved, but typically that will happen, yes.
Do you have any speculation on the population, the shifts in the wards in Villa Rica over the last 10 years? Any kind of guess?
I think Ward 4 already had a higher population than the other wards.
Is that Mirror Lake? Or?
That is Mirror Lake. And I think that ward will certainly have to be cut, which means you will shift the other 4 wards as well, because there are 5 wards. I don't know how much growth there's been, obviously, but I suspect that it's been significant. But I can say for sure that even in Ward 4, who already had a higher population than the other wards, there has been a consistent growth, certainly over the last 3 years, and it's just increasing. So that ward will certainly have to be cut, I'm sure.
Gil McDougal is mayor of the city of Villa Rica, our guest this morning on the Community Voice program. We're talking about the upcoming census and what we can expect of it. I do encourage you to post your comments and questions on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page if you're watching us there. I'm going to have to go outside in the rain and grab my phone because I've left it in the car. And I'll take a peek at your questions and comments during the break and bring those up when we do come back. I also want to remind you, of course, we have potential for severe weather today. At any time during the day or any day, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, mixed with a tornado watch. All the Granite Communications will get together and broadcast live and get you through that storm and just talk you through it and keep you updated on the weather. We do that every time there's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect at the same time as a tornado watch or a tornado warning is in effect. And, just keep that in mind today if we do experience those. And you can be alerted to these warnings and watches and the updates on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. We'll take our first break right now, and I'll go grab my phone. We'll be back with more Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy. We are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama, because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Fifteen before 9 o'clock. Good Thursday morning. Community Voice program brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy. News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, and this morning on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. I'm Colin Worthington. Our guest is Villa Rica Mayor Gil McDougal. Looking at our streaming here on Facebook Live. Not nearly as many people watching us this morning as they were watching Sarah Claudia yesterday. So may have to start bringing her in more, which is fine. She did a great job. I was glad to have her on the program. This morning we are trying to talk a little bit about the census, just to let you know that it is going on here pretty darn soon. Do you guys have a calendar as far as a date as far as when people can expect to start seeing people coming to the door? I mean, we know when all the information will be mailed to them and they have a chance to go online, but as far as people coming to their door, because that seems to be the biggest, people talk about the most. I mean, somebody actually coming to the door with the paperwork.
Yeah, I don't hear about that a lot myself, but about the same time that they are sending out these packets of information, which will be, they'll start going out in our area. You talked about it starting in Alaska, and that's true, but obviously they're moving on their own schedule, and ours starts about March 12th. So March 12th, about the time they send out those packets, will also be the time that they will start going door to door. But they've already done some they've got census employees that have been working probably since last fall on this. I want to point out, I had mentioned about SPLOST and funding allocation, but it actually, at the federal level, it goes a little deeper than that for us locally. It goes towards things like transportation, school lunches, low and middle income housing, the Head Start program, Medicare, and Medicaid. All of those fundings are also allocated by population, which is driven by the census. So I just want to point out that there are a lot more programs than just the SPLOST programs or education or any of the local intergovernment agreement programs. So those are also vital. Those are vital.
Did mention that there are people who are hesitant to participate, to give out their information to somebody coming out their door. Another reason that I've heard people want to avoid it is because they believe it's unconstitutional for them to come and count that, but it's actually, in fact, it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, it's laid out word for word in the Constitution, so it'd be kind of hard to be unconstitutional in my view, but we have a wide range of views out there, but again, even if you hold that view, please be counted, because I still need to find a way to get the appropriate funding.
I'd mentioned that it is against the law not to participate, but the federal law provides that anyone who refuses to answer or willfully neglects to answer any of the questions in connection with any census or survey shall be fined a maximum of $100. Or a maximum of $500 if the person does give false information. It says you can skip questions, submit an incomplete census form, and still be included in the head count, but you can be fined for refusing to answer a census question or intentionally giving the false answer, although they do say that the penalty is rarely ever seen. Decided that, are there any incentives for people to participate? I mean, from their home, obviously you're talking about the financial benefit for the communities and cities and counties as a whole, but I mean can municipalities do that? Can they offer an incentive? I mean, a free taco if you bring us a copy of your your form, anything like that?
I have no idea if we can offer tacos for participation in the census.
It doesn't have to be tacos. It could be
or anything else. Oh, it could be Chick-fil-A.
Water bill discount.
I guess that I'm hoping that the incentive that you're helping the community to receive its fair share of funding will be enough.
It is also good to tell you that it is against the law to identify anyone to government agencies. I mean, they don't share your information. I mean, that's the plan. I hate to say that that somebody doesn't do something because I don't know, but they're not supposed to share that information with any other government agency or anybody outside of a government agency.
I didn't know that. I think that would be comforting to skeptics.
Right, and I'm trying to put all that out.
Sure, I appreciate that.
That I found this morning just digging around. It is about 11 minutes before 9 o'clock. We'll take our final break here and come back and wrap up our program with Gil McDougal, maybe talk a little bit more census or anything else that's going on in Villa Rica that you want to throw out there.
Okay.
This morning, Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy, here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve. but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
A well-rounded education includes much more than just academics. At Oak Mountain Academy, we encourage our students to find their niche in any of our 42 co-curricular opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have brought home 5 state and 20 regional athletic titles. Our one-act play and literary teams continuously compete at the region and state level, and our academic teams bring home first place more than not. We are warriors creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
8:51. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And this morning, you can catch us on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, just like our good friends Jay Davis and Dakota Kelly did this morning. They checked in as they're watching us on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Also, our good friend Derek Newton. Thank you all for tuning in on the News Talk 1330 page this morning. Got about 9 minutes here with Villa Rica Mayor Gil McDougal, and a couple of things in Villa Rica news. Think about the, I guess we're in the second month of the year. Next month, or maybe at the end of this month, you guys are going to discuss publicly an entertainment district, which will allow people to walk around and hold a beverage, an adult beverage, through a certain portion of Villa Rica. I guess talk about how that came about and what it will hopes to become.
Well, in our downtown area, we have recently added a local brewery, and we also have the amphitheater. We have Uncorked Domain. These are some local businesses that have wines and malt beverages, and they had wanted to, and along with citizens, had wanted to have the option of being able to, in a confined area, be able to walk around with those beverages. So there's an outline of what will be presented to the council. I have gone through that. We've hashed it out back and forth. I think we've probably got something that we can make work, but you're right, it is a very confined area. But it's meant to enhance the attractiveness of our downtown area to people who would come and visit us. Maybe be at our amphitheater at some of the things we have going on down there. So,
well, right now, the amp's not in that district.
It's not, but it is part of a proposed part that could be added. But it runs right up to the amp, and it's on that side. So now I did want to mention one other thing that we did this week. HGTV they have a program called Hometown Makeover, and we will be submitting our application to submit Villa Rica for that. Hopefully we would get selected. But on this past Monday, we got a huge group of people out to shoot a few group scenes to be a part of that application. So I'm excited about that.
Is it showing places, buildings that you would like to see made over, businesses in downtown? What would that video show?
Well, that particular video was just about the people supporting the effort, but the entire packet application would include those kinds of items. But all of that is part of the enhancement of our downtown area and the attractiveness of it. And you're talking about the ordinance. So,
are there open businesses? Are there open buildings in downtown Villa Rica?
There are. I think there are 2, but I believe there are prospects even on those. So we're doing pretty good in our downtown area.
Prospects on it. I was like, what would you like to see? What's the downtown area missing that you think would enhance? Get more people to be down there.
I think we've got a decent variety of businesses down there now. We just need more of them. I'd love to see one of the businesses be able to have a rooftop bar or something like that, I think would be an enhancement to the downtown area. It seems to be in every area that I go in where there is one, it's an enhancement. It's pretty popular. I'd like to be able to see something like that.
I have one here in downtown Carrollton.
Right, that's right.
Gil, it is 8:55. We got 5 minutes left to go. I want to make sure that you touch on the census, with, the importance and significance of the census one last time, in case people are tuning in late. And if they have more questions, who can they call at City Hall?
I don't know if there's a specific person at City Hall, but I know that Janet Chumley over in Main Street has been doing a lot with the census and providing a lot of information. Her program would probably benefit from the allocation of funding. So you could reach out to Janet Chumley at Main Street in Villa Rica. We're also putting out a decent amount of information on our website and in the weekly newsletter. We have dedicated areas within the library, Villa Rica Public Library. You can go in and learn about the schedule for the census. And as I mentioned earlier, there are actually dedicated computers there just for those people who would be completing their census information. So you should not have a problem accessing a computer in the library.
Now, before you do talk about why it's so important to the city of Villa Rica, March 12th through the 20th, so that's next month, households will begin receiving official Census Bureau mail with detailed information on how to respond to the 2020 census online, by phone, or by mail. So you have that option. And you know that there's going to be people out there, or at least there'll be stories about people showing up and claiming they're census workers, and they're not, and trying to work a scam. So I mean, I believe they're supposed to provide a proper identification.
They each have an ID. They're supposed to be wearing it. If someone shows up and they do not have an ID and you are suspicious of them, we encourage you to just call your local authorities. Call for the city of Villa Rica, call the Villa Rica Police Department. Just let them know. They'll check it out. If it's something they need to follow up on, they will. And if not, they'll let you know that they've checked it out. I would hate to think that that's going to happen, but I guarantee it is going to happen. It seems that scam artists are very innovative at ways to find a way to rip somebody off. I don't get it, but it happens. It's a reality.
You're walking down the street in Villa Rica, somebody comes up to you and says, "Mayor, why should I participate in the census this year to benefit Villa Rica and myself?"
Well, because, as I've said earlier, how funding is allocated from the federal, state, and county level, and how we split our SPLOST programs, which are special purpose local option sales tax. I hear the thunder as well. Yeah, it sounds like it's rolling. But that is vital to how we receive funding and how we spend that funding within your own community. So I need your help to do that. That's what I would say.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming in this morning.
All right,
and
thank
talking
you.
about that. And then, there'll be an opportunity for us to talk about it again. Maybe a different representative from a different municipality, but it's something we'll be talking about over the next several months here in Carroll County and worldwide. Again, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Gil McDougal, Mayor of the city of Villa Rica. Just got about a minute and a half before the top of the hour. You'll hear national news, local news, and then Glenn Beck is on the air. Do want to remind you we are a flash flood warning is in effect until 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we're going to get downpours at times. A lot of rain is going to come up on you quick. So be careful out there on the roads. Avoid those places on the road where you can't see the bottom, and know that it's kind of deep, because sometimes it's deeper than what you realize as you approach it. Even after that, we're going to have a flash flood watch in effect until tomorrow morning. But a lot of rain expected for us today. We have a tornado watch in effect even today, too, until 1 o'clock. So keep your radio close and pay attention to all that. Thanks to Steve Graddick for pressing the buttons, Joel Brock for operating the camera on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page this morning. And thank you for tuning in. News Talk 1330 FM 106.3's Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.